Hi there, it's Kathy with Sycamore and Cotton. I'm back today with part 2 of the Americana projects that I've been working on, and I have some really nice ones to add to that. So let's get started. I'm starting with these wooden kitchen utensils that I've had in my stash for a while, and I pulled those out and am sanding them down. This one in particular, I gave a good clean to and a good sanding because it had been used in the kitchen from the way it looks, and I wanted to make sure that I did not leave any oils on it because I want my paint to adhere well. So I got that sanded down and got everything cleaned up, and then I pulled out my red, white, and blue paints. I'm using red by Waverly, and it's in the color crimson. I'm using plaster for the white. It's not a true white, but it works perfectly, I think, for my projects because I'll be distressing mine somewhat. And then for the blue, I'm using In the Navy, and it's by Dixie Belle. I think chalk paints or matte acrylic craft paints are best for this project, but you use what you like to use and what you have on hand. This is something that you shouldn't have to go out and buy a whole lot of supplies for. When I started working on these utensils, I had no idea what kind of design that I would put on them. Of course, we know stars and stripes, right? And red, white, and blue. And so I just started painting. And I did have some in my mind. My friend Connie from Reclaimed Treasures has done videos with her Americana projects. And actually, she's who inspired me to do this video. We've got Memorial Day coming up this weekend, and then this being the 250th anniversary of the United States. It's a good time to have plenty of this Americana patriotic home decor on hand. The good thing about these spoons is that you can do it however you want to, so make it your own. You can put as many stars and stripes as you want, or you can even, I have a couple that I just painted in one solid color, then sanded the edges down just a little bit to rustic them, make them a little rustic and distressed, and that was it. So you do whatever you like, and this is also a project that some of the older kids can do as well. So make a fun day out of it if you've got kids at home who might like to do something like this too. The good thing about these is that you can just freehand your designs on there. You don't need any special templates or patterns or anything like that. Just decide what you're going to do and go with it. I do end up using a star stencil at some point on some of these projects today, but you really don't have to have them. If you feel like you can just make a star freehand, you surely can do that, especially when you're doing a rustic design. I just dip the end of my paintbrush in the paint and then lightly make little dots to stand in for stars, since this is such a tiny space. And here they are all lined up. I'm going to next spray them with clear shellac because I plan in coming in next with Waverly's antiquing wax, and I want to antique them up a little bit, make them rustic, but I don't want especially the whites to be way too dark. And so as you know, putting on a clear top coat before using a dark wax helps you have more control over that. I do that to both sides and dry them really well before applying the wax. And also, I forgot to video it, but I did take my sandpaper and lightly sanded them down to make them a little rustic. Another step that I took to make sure these don't turn out too dark with this Waverly antiquing wax was to mix a little bit of the clear in with the dark, and that helped a lot. And a little water. I wanted to make sure I had my paper towel ready to wipe it off as soon as I got it on there. I did not want that dark wax sitting on there too much, so I brushed it on and wiped it off immediately. That's the one that I had done earlier, and I had used a gloss paint. I really didn't like it. I had since found my crimson paint, that is a chalk paint, so I just lightly went over those stripes with that paint. And here they are. I'm happy with how they turned out. Let me know what you think about them. And if you're not someone who likes using stars and stripes and prefer using more traditional classic designs for your celebration, you could always decoupage blue and white napkins or red and white napkins for these. And I think those would be beautiful. And I may just try that myself in the near future. The next project is one that can be left out year-round. If you happen to love the blue and white home decor that is trending right now, but is also a very traditional look, you are going to love this rolling pin. I am giving this rolling pin a coat of white because I had stamped it using an ink that was not permanent. And that ink ended up bleeding, just making a mess. And so, bleeding, fading, you name it. So, I had to spray it really well with a sealer, a clear matte seal, and then repaint it in white, which I'm using plaster. Any white will do. And I have replace that blue stamp pad with an IOD, which is definitely permanent ink and won't bleed. And I'm so happy to have that now because I didn't realize when I bought the ink that I was using before that it wasn't the proper kind. Anyway, lesson learned. And here I am stamping up the IOD stamp, and I think it's called Les Roses. I'm not sure. It's actually one of my very favorite stamps from IOD. And I'm just getting it stamped up well, and then I'm going to roll my rolling pin on it and get that beautiful stamped design on the rolling pin. So just be careful, and then when you roll it, make sure you stop where it doesn't overlap. I find if I start at the back and roll it forward, I can see better. And there is a little bit of a demarcation line, but once it's all dried, I'm going to take my stamp and individually stamp in some of those areas so that it doesn't have that definite line of where it ended. And it's now dried. I had to, it has taken a bit to dry. And I did wrap it with a paper towel because I did not want my dirty hands getting on it. Now I'm covering the handles with the Dixie Belle paint called In the Navy, and just giving a good coat on both ends. And then we're almost finished. After the blue dries, I distress just a little bit with sandpaper and then apply a top coat. And let me tell you, I can't say enough about using a permanent ink like IOD when you're doing stamps. It makes all the difference in the world. I love how this turned out, and it's going to go so well with my other red, white, and blue. Let me know what you think. Next, I have 3 different wood projects that are being made from just some scrap wood that I had in my stash. I'm always saving wood anytime I come across it. And this one is going to be sitting upright, and I do the top section in the navy blue, and then the bottom and all the sides in red. The one back there in the back, I decided to do just the face of it like a flag, and it's blue the rest of the way around. These projects were from the weekend when I set up a makeshift table on our front porch because the men were working at the mobile home that is my studio. As you know, we're rehabbing it, and the workers were there. So I just brought my things to the house and sat out on our front porch. It was such a nice day. Later in the evening, but before dark, I think it was around 8 p.m., our camera went off and alerted us that there was something at the front of the house. And this is what it was. That's right, it's a bear that came right up on our front porch. But we weren't surprised because it's been showing up around our house for the last couple of weeks, every few evenings. It also has a baby bear with it, so we have to be more careful this time than we have in the past because we don't want our dog Layla to get entangled with them. Typically, they just run off when they hear her barking inside the house, but if she happened to be outside and that baby out there as well, I'm afraid that Mama Bear might be more aggressive toward her. So we see bears around this time each year, usually. We only live maybe 5 minutes, if that, from the Cumberland Gap National Historic Park, and there are lots of bears in that park. So we enjoy it. We just are cautious with them, and they can be a little bit of a nuisance. But anyway, back to crafting. I'm working on the larger block now, and it is a heavy piece of wood. It measures over an inch thick. In fact, I believe it's about an inch and a half thick. It is, I think, 12 inches tall and 18 inches wide. So I thought it'd be perfect to do a flag on. And here I am, obviously doing the green, my goodness, doing the blue section of the flag. And I'm going to also do the sides and the back side of the block in the navy blue as well. Now back to painting the stripes on the smaller block. And I end up making the stripes, number one, they're too thick, and number two, they're not leveling up with the blue block. So I just paint over the whole thing red, and then I come back in with white and thinner stripes so that I can get more red and white stripes on it. Now back over to the larger one, and I'm doing the same thing here, except I again end up making my stripes not quite right. I wanted the top stripe to be red, the bottom stripe to be red, and the first stripe under the blue block to be white, because that's how it is on our real flag. So I ended up not getting that quite right, and what I decided to do, where I am just freehanding the stripes on right now, I end up stopping and getting a ruler and measuring and making sure that I've got the right number of stripes with even proportions, and the stripes in the way that they should, or that they do appear on the real flag. Now I'm back to the block that's going to sit upright, and I decide to put the white stripes all the way around it. So the sides will have the white stripes as well as the back. And I hope that I'm not being too confusing by jumping around like this from one project to the other. I was kind of out of sorts that day anyway. It was a little bit chaotic working on the porch, not having a proper setup, not really having everything I needed, and my little dog under my feet more so than if I'm in my studio. And also not really knowing exactly what I was doing with these blocks when I got started, but it all turned out and I'm real pleased with all of it. Here I'm sanding the front of the small flag and finishing up the stripes on the larger one. And this is after I had gotten my ruler out and made the markings of how the stripes actually should be. And now I'm going back and painting everything now. And here's my husband watering the flowers. I was hoping he would do one of his silly dances, but he didn't. After getting all 3 pieces painted, but before adding the stars, I went over all of them with sandpaper to rough them up a little bit and give them a little bit of a rustic look, remove some of that paint, and just make them look a little primitive before stenciling on the stars. It's a little hard sanding when you're holding a camera with one hand and trying to sand with the other, but we made it. And I actually went through my Christmas stencils to find some stars that I could stencil on. It's kind of funny that I've had these stencils for probably 3 years and never used them, and now here I am pulling them out and using them for my Americana summer projects. It's the next day now, and I'm down in my studio, and I'm now putting some Waverly antiquing wax on the block projects. And I had put on a little bit of clear wax prior to adding that because, just like with the other things, I didn't want too much dark wax staying on these projects. I wanted just a slight rustic look. I decided to turn the larger flag into a riser. So I got in my stash of spindles, and these are from a bed frame that was on the side of the road a couple of years ago, and I just stopped and asked the lady if I could have the bed frame to get the spindles, and she went inside the house and came out with a hammer to help me take the spindles off, so I didn't have to take the whole thing. I was just able to take out the spindles, which I thought was so nice. These are my absolute favorite spindles that I've gotten my hands on. I love them. And I'm just applying a stain. I believe that's a Minwax stain, and I think the color is Java. I wiped it on just using a shop towel and then let them sit for a few minutes, and then came on back and wiped off the excess. Now to get the antiquing wax on, but I decided to measure first, and I actually had misstated that the dimension was 18 by 12. It's actually about 18 by 10, but it is about 1.5 inches thick. And I'm just going over it lightly with the Waverly antiquing wax, and I do it on the sides as well. And here I'm using a little bit of the clear wax to go back over it and remove some of that darker wax. I just didn't want it looking that dark. Now for the beautiful feet on this. Now, for the sake of this video, I'm just hot gluing them on, but I will come back and screw them on. I will be selling this, and I definitely can't sell it and won't sell it with the legs just hot glued on, because we all know that's not going to last. But so that I could get this video finished and ready to show you all in time, I just hot glued them on there, and that did perfectly for this purposes that I have, and I love it. I think it turned out even better than I expected, and it's probably my favorite project out of all the projects that I've done. And here's one of the 2 little blocks. I really like this one, and the other one was cute. I just didn't bring it with me today where my booth is working on this video, so my apologies for that. And on to the last and final project for this video, and that is this fun little project of these fabric flags. The way I make mine is I started out with a piece of fabric that is 13 by 6, and that would be the red and white stripe there. So 13 by 6. For the stars section, the fabric needs to be 6 wide by 3. So then you place that in the middle of your fabric that's laid out, the striped fabric that's laid out, and glue it down. Then fold everything in half, as I've done here. Then I just add a strip of glue and place a dowel rod that I have stained. I used Waverly's antiquing wax. And I add, then just go along and add a strip of hot glue, and it's finished. I did pull out my iron, and that ended up not doing well. If you notice there was a spot where the glue was too hot and it melted through the fabric, but that's okay. I'm just using these for myself. So maybe don't do that, or don't have it on the highest setting. Here I'm making another and just cutting it down to size. So rather than me talking through it, I'll just let you watch the process. I want the fabric to fray a little. That's why I made sure that when I was gluing, I glued inside the edge rather than right along the edge. These are really such a cute way of adding some red, white, and blue to your home decor. You can stick these in wreaths. You can stick them in a pitcher or a vase, or stick them in a planter. There's so many different ways that you can use these. And here they are. I hope that you like them, and let me know if you have made these before or if you're going to give them a try. And if you haven't seen it already, this is actually part 2 of an Americana series. So part 1 was posted a couple of days ago. I'll provide the link for that in the description, and I'll also provide a link for my friend Connie from Reclaimed Treasures so that you can see the Americana decor that she's been making. She's got some really cute popsicles in there. So be sure to check out her video, and thank you so much for spending time with me. I hope that you've got something out of this. Please comment and let me know what was your favorite, where you're watching from. Are you a reseller or a crafter that sells your products, or do you just make for home? Anything, just let me know more about you. And if you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, that would make me so happy if you did. Subscribing is free. It just gives you notices when I post new videos. So that's it, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.